Yo, this is Mike with Comic Lore, and today we're checking out Wolverine, Weapons of Armageddon, issue number 1. And what this book is going to do is get us started on the Armageddon event that is coming out in this summer. So this is a great starting point, so please like and subscribe and keep joining us for the rest of the story. But we hop in with Logan, and he's having a drink at a bar, and we all know that Logan has a very intense healing factor. So for him to feel any kind of alcohol at all, he's got to drink a bunch. So he has a super high tolerance. And one of the patrons walks up to him and they kind of just comment on that, like, man, you're having quite the night. And he just lets them know, I have a very high tolerance. And he tells her, like, if you're looking for free drinks, like, you got to go somewhere else because that's not what I'm here for. I'm just chilling by myself, Wolverine being a loner. And she tells him, like, no, I'm not here for free drinks and I can always pay my own way. And she realizes that Wolverine doesn't even have a buzz yet. And she tells him, I wish I had that superpower. And he's like, sure. And he asks for another bottle. But at this time, the bartender lets Logan know that he's pretty much cleared him out, that he doesn't have any more whiskey. And if he wants some scotch, he can get him some scotch to drink, but he's cleaned out the bar. And at this point, he decides he wants to go home and he's like, what's the damage? How much do I owe? And the bartender lets him know that it's $260 plus a generous tip to make up for knocking out Big Roy. So obviously Wolverine's in a bar, Wolverine's going to fight. And as this is happening, Wolverine realizes he doesn't have that much money and he tells the bartender that he can pay him back on another day. But when that happens, the lady who he was speaking with earlier, she offers to cover the rest of Wolverine's tab. And she introduces herself as Terry. And she says, Terry, and it's not a problem. Tourist season, make good money as a tracker for wannabe hunters. Hey, hold still. And she's like, glass, Big Roy? Bottle to the face is what Wolverine tells her because she notices that Wolverine has glass in his face. And she's like, wow, you don't even have a scratch. You're very lucky. And Wolverine is insistent on not letting Terry pay for him. And he tells the bartender he'll take care of it when he sees him, but the bartender doesn't believe him. He believes that Wolverine, just going to be down in his luck forever. And Wolverine tells him, I got you. I'll get good. And Terry keeps talking to Wolverine and he's like, hey, I'm not interested. And he thinks that she is like trying to come on to him, but she has some ulterior motive that we don't fully know yet at this time. And as Wolverine is leaving, we see a second shot of some guy who was looking a little bit weird. He's in a suit. And he was actually in the bar in the previous panel, just in the back. I don't know if you caught it, but he was just waiting there. And now we see that guy or someone who's dressed very similar to him, and they're going in to raid someone's place. And that cuts to somebody running naked with no clothes on, and they're running with wolves through the forest, or from wolves. And it gives the impression that that could be Wolverine, but we realize it's a completely different face. And at that point, Wolverine, he just wakes up and he goes, damn, another nightmare. Every night this week, about getting some space from the X-Men would shake it, but something's gnawed at me. Something or someone nipping at my heels. And again, he goes back to the bar and he's hanging out with Terry. And Terry kind of starts to drop the charade and she tells him, I'm sorry to drop in on you like this, Logan. And Terry tells him that she's having trouble finding a mutant. And at this point, the charade is dropped and Logan puts everything together and he tells her, oh, you're still Terry O'Barnes, mutant tracker for hire. You're still hunting our kind. Because back in the day, she was instrumental in hunting mutants and also hunting Logan to get him in the Weapon X program and make sure he couldn't escape. And she said, you know that I've stopped that. And she tells him that, I stopped that and that I went out of my way before to find you just so I can apologize and say sorry for that. And I'm trying to make amends and make things right by using my powers to save mutants now because I realized what I was doing was wrong. So in the beginning, Logan already knew who she was, even though he was playing coy to us, the readers. And Logan tells her, I'm just having a rough go of it. I know you're doing your best. You didn't know what Weapon X was, that they were going to implant me with adamantium, that they were going to. And at this point, she cuts him off and she lets him know that there's always another new super soldier project, and today's no different. But this time it's ran by a private company, and the name's Primal Warrior. And they've been taking a page from the Weapon X program. So basically, they're revitalizing the Weapon X program. And so she's going to Wolverine, who's is Weapon 10, to try to figure out how they can solve this. And she lets him know they've been going after mutants who, like yourself, who can heal well. I've been staying ahead of them, warning the people they've been targeting, but they finally managed to grab one. Young guy named Tyler Torrance, animalistic mutant powers, which he rarely displays. I was tracking him after the Black Ops squad took him, but then he just disappeared. I couldn't sense him. At first, I thought they may have killed him, but I can usually still sense a fellow mutant for a while after death. His last location I could pick up was near Prime Warrior's facility outside the Ozarks. I think they're onto me. I think they found a way to hide his mutant gene so I can't track him. And Logan tells her, or he's already dead and they burned him alive, or they burned his body so you can't find him. And you're just another fool trying to make up for your past sins. And this is kind of like a double-edged sword, because Wolverine, you can honestly say that that's him too. He is ashamed of what he did while he was under the control of Weapon X, and him becoming a superhero isn't a big part of trying to make amends and get revenge on those people who made him commit those heinous acts and murder people just because they wanted them out of the way. And Wolverine has a thought as Terry's about to leave, and he goes, what about the other mutants you warned? Where are they now? And she tells them that she relocated them, gave them new identities, and she helped them keep their powers hidden. Well, at least the ones who could. And this kind of stirs Wolverine to get up and act, because he feels like they shouldn't have to hide. They shouldn't have to hide who they are or live in fear just because they're mutants. And he tells her, hey, the Ozarks, that's 10 hours away, and you're going to be paying for gas. So Logan is officially in, and as he's sleeping in the car, he starts to have this flashback when Weapon X was experimenting on him, and he got his adamantium skeleton for the first time. And he pops up, and Terry's like, it looks like you were having a nightmare. And he goes, are we almost there? And she goes, yes, we are, but we probably should do the rest on foot. And he's asking her if she's picking up anything, and he's just saying, Terry's just saying, all she's doing is picking up on people. And at this point, Logan notices that he's smelling burning coming from the facility, and he realizes, okay, we have to get in there, to see what's going on, see if we can help. And when he does that, he realizes they can't go in just dressed how they are, so they knock out 2 guards or 2 scientists, and they take their gear and they infiltrate the base there. And that's when we find out that what happened here is it's not what Logan might have feared, that we have mutants who are being burned. What it actually is that there was an attack on this base. And the doctor who's running this facility, he lets them know, like, hey, he stole my weapon filled with 10 million in upgrades and the box. And the person talking to him says, I'm sorry, Professor Ash. Security was on high alert. And he just loses it. He tells her, we're a joke. We're a private military company that seemingly anyone can just waltz into and blow up. I'm calling Peretti. I can tolerate losing the mutant box, but that box can change history. And so what he's most likely talking about is the origin boxes from the Ultimate Universe, because we found out in issue number 5 of Miles Morales' Spider-Man Incursions that Miles left with an origin box and came back to the main Marvel Universe. And the origin boxes have the ability to grant people powers, because that's what they used to combat the Maker in the Ultimate Universe. When he manipulated and changed time so people didn't have their correct powers or correct origins, these origin boxes was a way for people to get their powers back and learn about who they were supposed to be so they can help fight the Maker. And so obviously, well, my guess is that that is what Professor Ash is talking about. In addition to that, there's also a mutant who was taken, who escaped, who has a bunch of upgrades. And so they switch over to Logan and Terry, and they're talking to each other inside the facility, and they're basically like saying the people running these experiments, they're monsters, what are they doing? And they get a glimpse of the origin box in a video, and they see that people are talking about how it has this immense power. And so Wolverine is wondering during the escape, was it Tyler who took the origin box with him and he's on the run with it, or was it whoever, decided to blow up this facility? And then what Logan continues to see when he looks at this video is basically parallel and mirror to his own experience, as he sees Tyler on the table being experimented on. And he's really having a hard time dealing with the fact that Tyler went through the exact same punishment and experimentation that he did. At that time, the two most unlucky scientists of all time happen to be walking by as Wolverine is having this revelation. And they walk in and they're like, "Hey, who are you?" And at this time, Wolverine's pissed, claws come out, and we can only imagine, it'll show us, but I'm pretty sure that he just made two human kebabs with his claws because he was very upset after looking at what happened to Tyler. And then he finds a shirt that Terry had when he was abducted, and he wants to use that to try to locate and track Tyler wherever he went. And he smells it after Terry gives it to him, and she goes, "That'll do." And they run off to go try to find Tyler. And then we jump over to Professor Ash, and he's talking with Mr. Pruitt because he's really upset that his work has been destroyed and these people have just been able to come in unstopped and be able to disrupt all that he was working on. Plus, they took the origin box from him. So he's visibly upset. And at this time, Pruitt is letting him know that, yeah, I get it, because everything you're working on, I'm the person financing it. So I'm also losing here in this exchange. It's not that I'm immune to what's going on. I'm also dealing with the consequences and repercussions of this. And he lets the professor know, like, also be careful who you're talking to, because I do run a private military company, as you mentioned, and I have my private military, and they're going to take care of things that are annoying. And so if you keep talking to me like this, basically he's going to end him. And as he's saying that, we hop over and we see Ash, and Ash is looking scared because one of the soldiers is pointing a gun towards his head. And just so Ash knows that Pruitt is not lying about what he says he's willing to and can do. And from there, we go to some kind of desert station area for some private military group, or Pruitt's private military group. And someone's on the phone and they say, "Mr. Pruitt, I'm sorry, but there's no update yet. We're waiting for nightfall to engage the rebels." And he tells them, "This isn't about that, Mortimer. There's been an incident stateside, and I need to call in Simpson. I, of course, will make do without him, and calling in the C2 to retrieve him. I'll send you the details. Appreciate the assistance, Mortimer." "Simpson?" "Sir. Pulling you out, son. You're needed back home. I'll accompany." A manhunt, someone you may know, it turns out. And so what we find out is that this Simpson is Will Simpson, a character named as Nuke in the comics. And Nuke actually got his start originally in Daredevil, and it was created by Frank Miller. But over time, what they did was reintroduce him in a Wolverine comic and made him a part of the Weapon X program, where he was enhanced with cybernetics. And also, he keeps these pills on him that sometimes grant him powers and sometimes have been seen as just a placebo effect. But basically, they mirror the colors of the United States flag. The red pills, they increase his adrenaline, so make him stronger, faster, and more ready to fight. The blue pills, those bring him down and bring him to a more relaxed state. And in between missions, he takes the white pills so that he can stay calm and so that he doesn't, lose this control of his powers when it's not the appropriate time. And at this time, Mortimer tells him that he needs to go after Logan, also known as Wolverine. And he's like, "Nuke, do you?" And he's trying to see if he can hear him. But at that time, Simpson tells him, "Hey, can you do me a favor, sir? Can you give me a blue?" And after this, what we have is another flashback of Logan when he was back in the Weapons X program. And the doctor who is working on him is saying, "So, where will he end up? When all this is done, where does the perfect killing machine go? It's not your concern, Cornelius. Like Erskine or Oppenheimer before us, we work on the science. Since the war, there have been many attempts at recreating a super soldier, another Captain America. It's foolish, don't you think? Stephen Rogers was the man for the time, but those days are long gone. The world is one of shadows and blood, so we give them a killer, an animal, a monster." And so we see that that's how they perceive Wolverine and what they wanted him to become. And after this, Logan and Terry, they're out in the forest, and as they're walking, trying to locate Tyler, Logan is thinking to himself that Terry's liability. And Logan says to himself, "The kid Sin is still there, plus at least one more, old school, but so old school that they wouldn't have eyes on their enemies." And as he's saying that, he realizes that there was a trap set and he gets shot right in the head. And Terry's freaking out. She's like, Logan. He just tells her, run. And he realized that whatever's hitting him is coming from long range. And Terry runs to safety, but Wolverine runs straight into the action. Old school, burnt orange and yellow suit. He looks amazing. And he's thinking to himself, need to move quickly. No time to be cautious. Just deal with whatever they throw at me. Gunfire stops. Doesn't mean the danger is over. It's never over. Lights, a trap. Fine by me. Ain't nothing I can't. And then he's kind of just speechless because he's thinking survive. But then he goes, wait, isn't that Cap's shield? What the hell is this? And he hears turn around real slowly. And when he turns around, he realizes that he's dealing with another super soldier. He's dealing with the other Captain America, Daniel Colton. And Daniel Colton has a gun to Terry's head. And what this makes me wonder is how did he escape? Because he was under control of the military and he was being healed by Tony Stark Tech, because he got hurt in their action in Latveria and Captain America #1. I do have a video for that, so please check it out if you haven't already. And I'm going to be catching up on the rest of that story, so please stay tuned. But basically, Wolverine is just letting Colton know, I don't want any trouble with you. I just want the kid. We're not even here for you. And at this point, Colton, he looks at Wolverine. He goes, damn, another damn Captain America. Well, the kid's gone. And he lets Wolverine know he's free. And God helps anyone who tries to make it otherwise. And as we switch over to the last page of the comic, we see that this kid, Tyler, he's been given the powers of Wolverine. So now we have two Captain Americas, we have two Wolverines, and I'm really excited to see where this goes and how the origin boxes continue to evolve the main Marvel universe. But let me know what you think down below. I'm going to be covering all of these comics all the way through the summer. So like, subscribe, join us. Also, at 1,000 subscribers, we're going to be doing a giveaway, and I would love to share my love of comics with others. So I'm going to be giving out more details as we go on later throughout this year. Peace. See you next time.